What secret was so dangerous that it cost a president his job? This question began not with a grand conspiracy, but with a simple piece of tape. On the night of June 17, 1972, a security guard named Frank Wills was making his rounds at the Watergate complex in Washington, D.C. He noticed a piece of duct tape holding a door lock open in the building's garage. Thinking it was an accident, he removed it and continued on his way. When he returned a short while later, he found the lock had been taped again. This small, persistent detail was the first sign that something was deeply wrong. Wills called the police, setting in motion a chain of events that would unravel a presidency and permanently alter the American political landscape. The responding officers arrived to a quiet, seemingly empty building. They methodically searched the darkened floors, their flashlights cutting through the gloom. On the 6th floor, inside the headquarters of the Democratic National Committee, they found 5 men. These were not ordinary burglars. They were dressed in business suits and wearing surgical gloves, carrying wiretapping devices, cameras, rolls of film, and thousands in sequential $100 bills. While the White House worked to frame the Watergate break-in as a minor, unconnected event, 2 young reporters at the Washington Post refused to let the story die. Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, then relatively unknown journalists, were assigned to cover the initial court appearance of the burglars. They noticed things others missed, like the fact that the burglars had a high-powered lawyer, unusual for a simple burglary case. Their editors, particularly Barry Sussman, encouraged them to keep digging. They made late-night phone calls, knocked on doors, and chased every small lead. Their persistence turned a local crime story into a national scandal. The reporters began to follow the money, finding a $25,000 campaign contribution deposited into a burglar's account. It linked the break-in to Nixon's re-election campaign and a secret slush fund used for dirty tricks and political espionage. A mysterious source guided them, Deep Throat, who warned, "Follow the money." Decades later, he was revealed as FBI Associate Director Mark Felt. The advice to follow the money became the key to unraveling Watergate. The burglars had crisp sequential bills, signaling an organized source. Woodward, Bernstein, and federal investigators traced the funds to the committee to re-elect the president. CREEP, a secret cash fund, financed clandestine operations. Money was laundered through international banks, including accounts in Mexico. The trail was designed to be untraceable, but errors and persistence began to piece it together. A $25,000 donor check moved through a Florida bank into Bernard Barker's account. It was a concrete link that could not be waved away. The fund fueled forgery, spying, disruptions, far beyond a single break-in. Senior aides, including former Attorney General John Mitchell, helped orchestrate it. After the arrests, hush money kept defendants silent, what John Dean called a cancer on the presidency. The break-in was serious, but the cover-up made it a constitutional crisis. From the arrests onward, officials moved to sever any connection to the White House, destroying documents and coaching false testimony. They tried to use federal power, even the CIA, to obstruct the FBI. Key figures included H.R. Haldeman, John Ehrlichman, John Mitchell, and White House counsel John Dean. Initially tasked with containment, but drawn into obstruction, Dean coordinated payments, prepared false reports, and feared the consequences. 6 days after the break-in, Nixon met Haldeman. The smoking gun tape captured approval to use the CIA to hinder the FBI. The plan hid behind national security. As scrutiny mounted, the cover-up fractured. James McCord wrote to Judge John Sirica, alleging perjury and pressure to stay silent. It blew the conspiracy open, paving the way for dramatic public hearings. In February 1973, the Senate unanimously created the Select Committee on Presidential Campaign Activities. Chaired by Senator Sam Ervin, it probed the election and Watergate. Beginning in May, the nation watched witnesses, low-level workers to top White House aides, tell their stories in real time. The hearings turned complexity into a public spectacle. John Dean, calmly and meticulously, laid out the cover-up, implicating himself, senior aides, and President Nixon. He warned of a cancer on the presidency and said Nixon knew of the cover-up. The White House tried to discredit him, His detail held. America learned a new lexicon: hush money, dirty tricks, plumbers. Senior aides denied, clashing with Dean's account. Beyond facts, it became a civics lesson on presidential limits, rule of law, and public trust. Irvin's oversight and a free press on full display. The stage was set for the most shocking revelation of all. The hearings had reached stalemate: Dean versus the president. Then a simple question: was there a White House recording system? He paused and answered truthfully, yes. Nixon had a secret voice-activated system in the Oval Office and on telephones. A bombshell. History recorded verbatim. The focus shifted. What was on the tapes? The Senate and Special Prosecutor Archibald Cox subpoenaed them. Nixon refused, citing executive privilege and national security. A constitutional struggle ignited. Was the president above the law? Defenders called it historical record-keeping. Critics called it ultimate secrecy. The very tapes meant to secure a legacy threatened to bring a presidency down. The fight escalated in the fall of 1973. Special Prosecutor Archibald Cox pressed relentlessly. Nixon ordered him fired. Attorney General Elliot Richardson refused and resigned. Deputy William Ruckelshaus refused and was fired. Solicitor General Robert Bork complied and fired Cox. The shock was immediate and nationwide. Public outrage exploded. Press condemnation thundered. A raw display of power backfired badly. A new special prosecutor, Leon Jaworski, was appointed. Some tapes were yielded. The massacre galvanized impeachment efforts. Many concluded Nixon would tear down institutions to protect himself. The battle for the tapes continued. Nixon released edited transcripts, peppered with expletive deleted, but withheld key recordings. Jaworski went to the Supreme Court, United States versus Nixon. Nixon argued absolute privilege. Confidentiality was essential. Prosecutors argued justice outweighed privilege. No one above the law. In an 8-0 ruling, the court rejected Nixon's claim. Chief Justice Warren Burger wrote, "Privilege is not absolute." The court ordered the tapes produced immediately, a historic victory for the rule of law. Cornered and facing impeachment, Nixon agreed to comply. The nation braced for what the recordings would reveal. The end was now in sight. Among the tapes was the conversation from June 23, 1972, the smoking gun. It captured approval to have the CIA tell the FBI to halt its probe, falsely as national security. Devastating, undeniable proof of personal involvement in the cover-up. It contradicted months of public statements. Even before, the committee had approved articles: obstruction of justice, abuse of power, and contempt of Congress. His remaining defenders abandoned him. Impeachment was certain, removal likely. On August 8th, Nixon told the nation he would resign effective the next day. He did not admit criminal wrongdoing, saying he lacked support to govern. On August 9, 1974, he became the first U.S. president to resign. Vice President Gerald Ford took the oath declaring, "My fellow Americans, our long national nightmare is over." Nixon's resignation ended the immediate crisis, but its shadow endured. Over 30 officials were convicted, including Haldeman, Ehrlichman, and Mitchell, who served prison terms. President Ford granted Nixon a full pardon. Controversial, he said, to help the nation heal. Watergate spurred reforms: campaign finance, ethics, and transparency, strengthening the Freedom of Information Act. Investigative journalism's watchdog role was elevated, inspiring generations. Public skepticism of leaders deepened. Watergate became a global synonym for political scandal. At its core, a paranoid drive to win at any cost, compounded by a far graver crime: the cover-up. Watergate tested institutions, but proved their resilience. A free press, independent courts, and Congress can hold power to account. The timeless lessons: secrecy breeds corruption, power must be checked, and the pursuit of truth is essential to democracy. Watergate remains a cautionary tale and a reminder that no one, not even a president, is above the law. Want to go deeper? Start with these essentials. All the President's Men, by Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein. The Final Days, by Woodward and Bernstein. Blind Ambition, by John Dean. The Secret Man by Bob Woodward. Integrity by Eagle Bud Krog. Watergate, A New History by Garrett M. Graff. If this helped untangle the mystery-to-reveal timeline of Watergate, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more beautifully crafted, deeply researched history stories. Drop your questions in the comments. What should we decode next?